What is with the controversy around Tui having favorites? Throughout the history of Wings of Fire, many have accused the author of favoritism towards certain characters and tribes. Common examples include Mudwing enjoyers arguing that the tribe gets no representation in books, the Rainwing tribe being accused as Tui's overall favorite, and of course, characters like Glory and Moon being constantly bashed over and over again as quote-unquote Mary Sues. So, which of these critiques are actually legitimate? Are some only partially true, or completely made up? For the sake of content, and also just because I could, I chose to find out. But first of all, hey, I'm Flamboyance, but you can call me Flam, and I've been away from YouTube for more than half a year. I will be completely ignoring that fact, and hopefully uploading with some semblance of consistency from now on, as long as I don't run out of ideas or abruptly lose motivation again. But anyways, back to the content. Now, one way to see how much the author likes specific tribes or characters is simply looking at their page time. Whether it's a conscious decision or something the writer may be doing without realizing it, you can often see their favorite character gain a larger presence or even just raw advantages in the plot, simply because the person writing them likes them better than the rest, for whatever reason. After all, it is Tui's book. She can do whatever she wants in it. However, this can affect any series, Wings of Fire included, in ways that may not be ideal. Usually, from what I've seen in the Wings of Fire canon, this bias typically takes the form of an increase in page time for certain favored characters. For tribes, it's kind of the same, but also involves an increase in point of views, or POVs for short. So, how should we investigate this? Well, I did what anyone with a free summer would do. I meticulously analyzed each and every POV in the entire WAF series to see if I could draw some conclusions. Okay, so we're going to get right into the data, and I apologize in advance if I have to cut this a little bit short, because in previous takes this went on really long, like 10, 15, 17 minutes, which is just like insane for a YouTube video, especially one of just like raw analysis. It's just a little bit too long. It'll probably make you guys all bored. It made me bored listening to it. I only listened to a little bit of it. But anyways, right into the key right here. It's a little bit confusing. We have the classic main pro epilogue POVs, Legends, Wingless, and Snowfall's Visions. I'm gonna explain these in a bit. But first of all, I probably should have said this a little bit earlier. But if you want to go and check this out a little bit more in depth, because I'm just going to be kind of skimming it right now, you can go check it out in the description down below. I'll have the link to this. I'll have the link to some other stuff. And yeah, that'll just be all in the description as per usual. Now, the classic POV I defined as a main POV in the main part of a Wings of Fire book in the original 15-book series, you know, the Glory Starflight, Tsunami, Clay, Sunny, etc. type of POVs, and then a main POV being a POV in the main part of a Wings of Fire book, not the prologue, not the epilogue, but just the main part, right? And then a pro and epilogue POV being just the opposite, a pro and an epilogue, prologue and an epilogue, excuse me, in the main series or in the Legends books. So that creates kind of a bit of a dynamic where you got the main POV overarching above like the classic, the prologue, pro and epilogue, and the Legends. And then just Winglets and Snowfall's Visions, which are pretty self-explanatory, being kind of outside of that little group. And again, warnings, spoilers for pretty much the entire series ahead if you haven't already read ahead and read that little disclaimer right there. But yeah, obviously spoilers for the entire series. But okay, I'm gonna try to get through this a little bit quickly. Okay, so this is a bit confusing. So we can start with this one, a bit more simple. So total POVs per character. These are all the POVs character-wise, sorted by characters in the entire series. A lot have 1, a lot have 0, and then these are the only, I believe, 12 characters who have 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But in fact, there's one with 3, and that would be Raven. Now, this is really interesting because Raven is like a random human who is introduced in book 14 and has a point of view in Snowfall's Vision in book 14. the one where she turns into a human, obviously, then in Flames of Hope prologue, and the Dangerous Gift epilogue. And so this creates an interesting sort of situation here, and kind of reinforces my hate for humans in Wings of Fire and how prevalent they've gotten. Because, like, okay, one-off characters like Ren or Flower, or like humans that actually add something to the plot and demonstrate a relationship between humans and dragons that isn't like something insane like the whole language thing. Um, Raven just kind of shows how over the top the kind of human dragon relationship has become. And I don't think that's good for the series. I think that takes away from the dragons as the sort of sovereign, dominant species. And like, that's part of the reason why WoF was created, is to, get away from the human protags killing the dragon enemies and start from the other way around with humans like just being a side sort of um, pet or sort of random animal in the in a dragon's world. And I think that sort of takes away from the dragon world kind of aspect. And this is really representative of it, which I think is really interesting. Raven, 3 POVs, everyone else has 2 or less. And that's the entirety of Wings of Fire. Now, moving on to the total POVs per tribe. This, again, it was kind of an experience to like write all this down. But I summarized everything like kind of here and in here. But the main thing is, like, you got Nightwings and you got Sandwings with 15 and 11 point of views. Meanwhile, the average is like 6-ish. So as you can see, like, a lot of Wings of Fire is Sandwings and Nightwings. And I think that's great. Like, I think it's good that tribes are able to like have strong representation. And the Nightwing specifically, like, you got everything there. You got culture, you got designated kingdoms that are explored deeply throughout the books. You have their powers being detailed. You got their customs and how they operate as a tribe. Like, you got everything right there. And I think that's great. I think that all tribes should have that. But like, as you can see here, which is kind of the downside, some tribes don't. You see here, the Nightwings have 4 more point of views than half of the dragons combined. Hivewings, Rainwings, Mudwings, Leafwings, Skywings, they have 11. Nightwings alone have 15, and the Sandwings alone have 11. And so, when you have that much less page time in terms of like who's the main focus on the plot, I would say it does kind of make it so that it's a little bit less distribution of representation than there could be, or there could have been, because these books have already been written. But I'll talk more about like the over and under representation of different tribes later, and how this data isn't really like it means something, but it's not the bigger picture. I think it's more equitable than this chart demonstrates. But like, still, you got the tribes like the Mudwings, who've been around for ages, and they only have 2 point of views. It's a little bit unfair. And I think Tui is going to try to fix that with book 16 and arc 3. But for now, it's definitely something to take note of. Now, up here, there are also some potential source of error and weirdnesses, as I kind of alluded to before. In books 1 and 2, you see Blister and Morosir have both epilogues. Like, you got 2 and 2 here, so that kind of inflates the statistics a little bit in favor of the Nightwings and Rainwings, or excuse me, Nightwings and Sandwings. In book 1, part of the prologue is from Fitter's POV and the others from Kestrel's, which makes Dragonet Prophecy the only book with kind of both a shared prologue and epilogue, but it's not like full. It's not like a full prologue and epilogue, but it's counted as such, because like, I don't know how else to count it. It's a bit of an anomaly. What else is an anomaly is Pyrite's chapter-long POV in Winter Turning, which kind of inflates the statistics for the Skywings, Just kind of like Kestrel and Fitter. It's like technically a point of view, but it's only 1 chapter. It's only an animus spell. And whether Pyrite's even like a character or not is still a little up in the air as well. Like, she is a character, but also just like an animus kind of covering. Like, is Ruby a character? Is Pirate a character? Or are they kind of half characters? What are they? Um, and so I think that's kind of an interesting sort of, ambiguity maybe, a little bit of confusion in the data as well. And as for hybrid dragons, thankfully the only hybrid POVs are Sunny and Darkstalker. Obviously, Sunny's a Sandwing, Darkstalker's a Nightwing. No hybrid issues in the POVs here. But yeah, I thought this was pretty cool. It showed a lot about Wings of Fire in general. And if you want to learn more, then you could look on the wiki. I pretty much sourced all this from the wiki. It took a bit of time. But yeah, I've also got these links, as I have already said, in the description down below. I'm going to send it back to Scripted Flam, and thanks for listening. Okay, so as we saw in the POV distribution, there is a fair bit of over and under representation in the Wings of Fire tribes just by looking at it from a purely point of view standpoint. That being said, this doesn't take into account true page time per tribe, but to determine that is an insane can of worms. It would involve leafing through every single page, tallying up every single character and tribe, just an absolute nightmare. But even if you account for the less than perfect point of view representation metric and any other goofiness in the data, the Nightwings alone have about double the average number of point of views for a tribe, and the Sandwings are pretty close behind them, which is maybe the most massive of the present inequalities. But that's not even close to the full story. Alrighty, so halfway into scripting this, I realized that it would be quite a bit longer than I originally thought, so I'm gonna have to cut it off here, leaving it a cliffhanger. Hope you enjoyed, hope you watched part 2. It should be coming out eventually, but I do have some other stuff planned for the interval before then. And lastly, I'd like to shout out Glitch Korvus, my good friend, for making these sort of custom Flam avatars. First time using them in a video after a whole entire year of them just kind of sitting in my desktop folder. But yeah, they're great. I love them. I hope you do too. Thanks so much as usual for watching, and I'll see you next time.